just when we thought this Sheryl Swoops drama was gonna blow over, things just got so much messier.
Hold on to your seats, basketball fans, because the WNBA just detonated. What started as simmering tension has erupted into a full-blown controversy, sending shockwaves through the league and leaving everyone scrambling for answers. At the heart of it, a legend sidelined, a rookie sensation under fire, and a conversation nobody saw coming.
Sheryl Swoops, and how she has been a certified Caitlin Clark hater for about a year now. Up until now, she has not been able to say anything nice about Caitlin Clark, nor has she been able to even speak her name. So for this specific game against the Fever, they replaced her with another WNBA legend, Nancy Lieberman.
The names are Sheryl Swoops and Caitlin Clark. One, a Mount Rushmore figure in women's basketball, the other, a dazzling rookie rewriting the record books. Their paths collided, not on the court, but in the commentary booth and on the airwaves, sparking a feud that's become impossible to ignore. And just when you thought it was a two-player game, a third voice, Rachel Data, entered the fray, adding fuel and fire to an already explosive situation.
So I can understand why Sheryl Swoops would have an attitude with people who would question her professional objectivity. But I also understand why people would look at her like she's lost her ever-loving mind. Because you're literally putting the lack of professional objectivity on display for audiences to see, and then you're looking at us acting like what's wrong?
Before we dive deeper, let's be clear. Sheryl Swoops isn't just anyone in the WNBA. We're talking about a titan, three-time MVP, Hall of Famer, a player who defined an era. Think Michael Jordan levels of respect and recognition in the women's game. Her voice carries weight, her opinions matter, and her legacy is undeniable. That's why what's happening now is so utterly shocking.
People were like, did Sheryl Swoops get fired? They took her off this game, and a lot of people were also happy about that because we don't know what her commentary would have been like with the Fever on the court. And so the fact that he went on about the read, talked about Nafisa, talked about Caitlin Clark, and then after that, there was like 5 or 6 seconds of literal silence because Sheryl Swoops was not jumping in. That was the point that I was like, okay, here is once again another example of Sheryl Swoops hating Caitlin Clark so much that she literally can't even say her name.
The friction didn't appear overnight. Whispers started circulating months ago, hinting at a coolness, a distance in Sheryl Swoops' commentary when it came to Caitlin Clark. Subtle digs, perhaps, omissions of praise where many felt it was due. It was like a low hum of negativity, barely audible at first but steadily growing louder, hinting at something brewing beneath the surface.
Like, Caitlin Clark is the Voldemort if Sheryl Swoops was Harry Potter. Like, literally cannot say Caitlin Clark's name. It is so bizarre. Sheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, those women were like the gold standard of basketball. So it's just so weird to me for her to just be hating. Like, there's no other way to describe it.
The dam finally broke on Swoops' podcast. It wasn't a single outburst, but a series of calculated remarks that ignited the firestorm, downplaying Clark's scoring records, suggesting they were somehow inflated, conspicuously failing to mention Clark when praising the Indiana Fever's performance. It all culminated in a perception of deliberate dismissal, almost disdain.
There is no one like Caitlin Clark in the history of the WNBA. I mean, you had somebody who was the all-time leading scorer in college basketball history who plays for Las Vegas, and nobody talked about her. Nobody talked about Kelsey. Wonderful player. Nobody talked about her. Caitlin Clark is just different.
The internet erupted. Fans, analysts, even fellow players took to social media en masse. The accusations flew. Jealousy, pettiness, disrespect. #StandWithClark trended. The online basketball community galvanized, overwhelmingly rallying to Clark's defense and condemning Swoops' perceived negativity. The pressure was mounting, and the WNBA was watching.
Delivered 3 cheap shots. Clark posted 31 points and 12 assists in a 19-point victory. Show White exited the game to a round of applause and then sat and watched Sleazy Reese pad her stats in the final 90 seconds.
Then came the bombshell. The WNBA, in a move that stunned many, announced Sheryl Swoops would be replaced for an upcoming game broadcast. Not suspended, not reprimanded, publicly replaced. It was a subtle yet seismic shift, a clear signal that the league was taking the situation incredibly seriously.
And this is definitely not the first time that Sheryl Swoops has thrown shade or omitted Caitlyn from her broadcast or from her podcast. Just last week on her podcast, her and her co-host were talking about the Indiana Fever post the Olympic break. And here's what she had to say about the Fever.
I think the Olympic break really helped Indiana. I'm going to shout out to Lexi Hull. I'm a big Lexi Hull fan. Lexi Hull shot the leather off the ball in their game against Seattle. Kelsey Mitchell is just stroking. She's just shooting the basketball. Aaliyah Boston, almost a triple-double. If Indiana continues to play the way they're playing like this, they too are going to move up in the standings, end quote.
This wasn't just about one game or one commentator. The WNBA's action sent a powerful message throughout the league and beyond. It was a declaration that they would protect their rising stars, that biased commentary wouldn't be tolerated, and that the future of the league was paramount. It was a bold, unprecedented step signaling a new era of WNBA priorities.
These ladies, and I'm a WNBA fan.
It's been a good season.
They cannot have fucked this Caitlin Clark thing up any worse if they try.
To understand the scale of this, you have to grasp the Caitlin Clark phenomenon. She wasn't just a college player. She was a record-breaking, attendance-driving, highlight reel machine. She entered the WNBA with hype levels rarely seen, carrying the weight of expectation and the hopes of a league hungry for new superstars.
It doesn't even make any sense, like not even a nod to Caitlin Clark, not even saying like Caitlin Clark's playing well or Caitlin Clark's leading the team. You don't even have to be that complimentary, but leaving her out completely when she is the #1 component of that Indiana Fever team and has also been playing a lot better post this Olympic break than she was before, to completely leave her out, it's so weird.
And Clark hasn't disappointed rookie season, and she's putting up numbers that rival veterans, injecting excitement into the Indiana Fever and drawing massive viewership. Love her or hate her, and opinions are definitely divided. You can't deny her impact. She's a game changer, attracting new fans and eyeballs to the WNBA in droves.
If you got people in a room,
Yeah.
If you got a bunch of dudes in a room and says, let's fuck up the WNBA, we couldn't have came up a master plan what these women have done.
Then came the Olympic snub. Despite her performance, despite her profile, Clark was left off the U.S. Olympic team roster. This decision, already controversial, became even more so in the context of the Swoops drama. Was there a pattern here? Was Clark facing an uphill battle not just on the court, but in the broader WNBA ecosystem?
She continues to hate on Caitlin Clark, and it's basically pushing the narrative that the media and other players in the WNBA and people in general are just hating on Caitlin Clark when there seems to be no reason why. So when you start to try to figure out the reasoning, all you can think of is maybe they're jealous, maybe they think it should have been them, that maybe they don't like how much praise Caitlin Clark is getting.
Enter Rachel Data, a respected voice in women's basketball, a commentator, and someone unafraid to speak her mind. Data didn't just offer a hot take. She delivered a carefully considered analysis, dissecting the Swoop situation and raising uncomfortable questions about the dynamics within the WNBA.
This girl is incredible. What she did in college for women's basketball, what she's doing in the WNBA.
She turned the Fever, were 1-8. They have a winning record now.
The number of attention, eyeballs, she's brought to college and the pros. And for these women to have this petty jealousness.
Data's core argument, this wasn't just about one player or one set of comments. She suggested a deeper issue, generational tension, a potential clash between established veterans and the new wave of talent, perhaps fueled by anxieties about legacy, relevance, and the changing landscape of the sport. She dared to ask, was jealousy a factor?
You said to yourself, damn, what is going on here? And
well, you got accused of that stuff too, with the older players being resentful of the new generation. It's kind of part of the basketball process. Everybody thinks their generation's the best.
No. Anytime we say something about guys, it ain't the old get off my lawn guy.
Yeah.
But the stuff toward her is petty and jealous.
The question of jealousy hung in the air, unspoken by some, directly addressed by others. Was Sheryl Swoops, a legend in her own right, struggling to reconcile with the meteoric rise of a new star? Was there a sense of protectiveness over her era, a feeling that the spotlight was shifting too quickly? It's a complex and uncomfortable question, but one that Data and many others forced into the open.
So Stephen A. Smith called her out and she clapped back on Twitter and she said, "You talk about whomever and whatever you want on your podcast, correct? So why can't I? Also, did you listen to the entire episode? Nope. I have a personal relationship with these players and they deserve recognition as well."
Data's analysis sparked a broader conversation about veteran-rookie dynamics in the WNBA. Is there an unspoken hierarchy? Are rookies expected to earn their stripes in a way that sometimes stifles their potential? The Swoops-Clark drama became a lens through which to examine these deeper, often unspoken tensions within the league.
Essentially, like, you're employed by the WNBA. Everything that you're doing is around the WNBA. It's not a good look. And it's especially not a good look because you are a legendary player yourself. Before all of this, I was a Sheryl Swoops fan. I feel like any player growing up in the 90s, early 2000s, like Sheryl Swoops, Lisa Leslie, those women were like the gold standard of basketball. So it's just so weird to me for her to just be hating. Like, there's no other way to describe it as she's just like clearly hating on Caitlin.
In the aftermath, Sheryl Swoops attempted to respond, notably in a Twitter exchange with Stephen A. Smith, but her responses were perceived by many as defensive, even dismissive. She seemed to double down on her right to criticize without fully addressing the core accusations of bias and negativity. Her attempts at justification only seemed to further fuel the controversy.
About the fact that there's been some haterade being thrown in her direction, okay? Because there's no excuse to have resentment towards her.
Down, and she said, "Do you talk about them or others in the league and give them their props? I really hope y'all take all of this energy to the polls and vote." What? Vote? On what? Like, it's so weird to then, I don't know. It's just like, I'm sweet.
Figures like Stephen A. Smith played a crucial role in amplifying the drama. His passionate commentary, his clear stance on the issue brought the Swoops-Clark feud to an even wider audience, pushing it beyond niche basketball circles and into mainstream sports conversation. Media personalities became key players in shaping the narrative.
But she is a big voice in the WNBA, and so for her to be perpetuating and not shutting down the fact that she just clearly hates Caitlin Clark is, I don't know, I've said it a million times, weird. And Sheryl Swoops seemingly disliking Caitlin Clark hasn't just happened in the past couple months. This actually dates way back to when Caitlin Clark beat the NCAA scoring record for both the men and the women.
This whole saga raises questions about the role of commentary in sports. Is objectivity truly possible or even desirable? Where is the line between critical analysis and personal bias? The Swoops controversy forced a re-examination of the expectations placed on sports commentators, particularly those with legendary playing careers.
She said that Caitlin Clark is a 25-year-old beating up on young kids, which she is currently 22. She said that Caitlin Clark takes about 40 shots per game, but Caitlin Clark had 22.3 field goal attempts for just this past season at Iowa, and she had 19.7 for her entire career at Iowa, while actually Sheryl Swoops averaged 24.9 shots per game in her 2 years at Texas Tech. The last thing that she had to say about her was that the all-time Division I scoring record that Clark broke isn't legitimate because she had a 5th year of eligibility due to COVID-19.
Looking ahead, the WNBA is undeniably changed by this. Caitlin Clark is a force, drawing unprecedented attention and revenue. The league's handling of the Swoop situation demonstrates a commitment to protecting its stars and embracing its future. But how will this drama shape the relationships between veterans and rookies, between commentators and players in the long run? The WNBA stands at a crossroads. The Sheryl Swoops, Caitlin Clark, Rachel DeMita saga isn't just a fleeting controversy. It's a reflection of deeper shifts within the league. Will this be a moment of positive change, fostering a more inclusive and supportive environment for rising stars? Or are these tensions destined to resurface? The answers are still unfolding. What do you predict? Let us know in the comments below. And for all the ongoing updates on this story and everything WNBA, like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. We'll be here to break it all down.